Tell me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
Good evening, street soldiers everywhere, far and wide. What I've been saying lately, and from San Francisco to Cape Town, that's what I've been saying. All over the world, street soldiers everywhere. Thank you for joining us once again, and got a great show as always for you. I'm loving this tonight. So you just stay tuned. And I got something special that even he doesn't know about. It's a he. Yeah, no. I'm gonna tell him in a minute. I'm gonna announce it to the world. But first, I gotta say, just thank you for listening. Thank you for listening, Street Soldiers, all of these years. And my other guest said, man, you used to get off at 2 a.m. That's right, man. When you love what you do, you just come in and do it. Good advice, good information, good instruction, all to make it good in your neighborhood, playing a little music, saving a lot of lives. What's up, Phil Mo?
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, bro?
I'm all right.
You got the wave cap on tonight, man?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Cut my hair.
Yeah, well, I like what you had last week, man. So now you got to do that every night.
Waves.
Oh, okay.
It's a process.
Okay.
Trust the process.
That's the process. All
yes,
right.
sir.
Okay, I'm gonna look forward to seeing it. All right.
I'm gonna try.
What's up, man?
You got any wave getting tips?
No, because I ain't. No, mine is.
They say brush right out the shower.
Oh man, so you know,
Okay.
I never did do waves. You know.
Yeah, you got the naves.
Yeah.
No waves.
I ain't never heard that one. You quick, man. You quick.
I try.
Yeah, you good though. No. Hey,
you.
Filmo.
Yes, sir.
Wash your back, man.
Hey! That's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
All right, we got is the soul on? He's in, he's not.
Oh, hold on. Let me get Malcolm.
Yeah, you gotta say something. I gotta say something to him. If not, I'm going straight to the news. There's a lot of news, a lot of crazy.
Go to the news and then if
Go
Malcolm
to the
comes,
news,
when he
man.
comes. Because you
One
know
eye
how
on
it
the
goes.
Warrior game. Y'all keep an eye on
We
it.
lost.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, we lost.
The road,
loss.
man. What's up with your road, man?
It's a bad loss, too.
This is like schizophrenia, man. What's up, man?
Hey, but the
Dr.
NCAA
Jekyll and
women's-
Mr. Hyde.
Women's game.
Again, women's game was great.
It was great.
It was great. It was
Yes.
great. It was great. Great. LSU just a little too deep. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. He's not here yet? No? Okay. Well, there's a couple news items. Anybody can comment. First of all, Trump is indicted.
Yes. Yeah, you're happy about
Me
that.
too.
Yeah. Of course I'm happy.
That's right.
Did you know that? No, he's indicted.
Oh, yeah.
No, he ain't convicted. He's indicted. Really. But in order to get convicted, you got to be indicted, right?
Indicted,
Remember
yes,
when
sir.
they would never indict any police, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we couldn't convict anybody because you got to get indicted first. Now, I think this is the weakest of the cases myself, personally. I think the others that are coming,
Mhm.
you know, in Georgia and the two in Washington, D.C., it will probably be stronger cases. But, you know, I mean, there is a thing now, really. No one is above the law, right? So,
As it should be.
yeah, now, you know, maybe a political risk. I don't care. I want dude to be indicted, the orange man was indicted. Okay, that's number one. All right. I ain't gonna lose no listeners from this station for saying that.
That's right.
Saying that. All right. Let's see. Jesus Christ, the Nashville shooter. We know all about this. Horrible. They have school shootings are just.
It's another school shooting.
Oh, this is the one.
See.
No,
Crazy.
this is the Nashville school shooting. It might even be a week and a half old now, right? I don't know.
Okay, so that's the one.
Yeah, that's crazy. The NAACP is saying Black people do not come to Florida
Okay.
For what?
right, the same.
because DeSantis don't like us. Okay,
In Florida.
he don't like us in Florida.
Well, I'm going to Florida for Miami.
Well, you go.
Miami for Memorial.
You can go. I'm just saying you ain't gonna. Don't run into him. He don't like.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah. He's just saying because they're banning anything that's historically Black and accurate. He ain't going for. There was actually a school. This Ruby Bridges film. Ruby Bridges the young lady that integrated the schools in which city, lady? Was that the Little Rock one?
No, she was like 5 years old.
Yeah. And they were showing the film, and one parent objected to it because it would make the kids feel bad about saying that racist white people shouted at Ruby Bridges just showing the film. So
I don't
they
like
pulled the
that.
film.
That's so soft.
Beyond soft. It ain't true.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's a different. But I think they were showing the film in Florida. Anyway, it happens. It's gonna happen. But we're gonna let that go. All right. NAACP is there. And my last news item, really quickly, right down the street, the San Jose top police union official is accused of facilitating an international drug ring. Ann sent me that one. You remember that one, Ann?
Isn't that crazy?
Very upsetting.
The top union officer is accused of facilitating
Seen that.
a drug ring. So,
Is that the woman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joanne, I think her name.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, and the thing is, when stuff like that hit the fan, it's way deeper. Like, how deep does it go? Because it's gonna show some things. It's gonna reveal a lot of things about a lot of people. It's not just her. Trust me on that one.
Probably.
Trust
You're
me
probably
on
right.
this.
No. I'm just racking in what
Like
you
when
said.
Shrimp Boy
Yeah,
went down,
Yeah.
it was a whole web of people that got
Oh,
caught
Lord,
up
you
in
brought
that.
up a name.
Yeah.
I know that name. They know that name. We know that name. That's
So
right.
that's what I'm saying. My
Yeah,
boy got caught up in that.
Did
The
he?
lawyer,
Oh, wow.
the sports agent was one of my best friends.
And the ball was on the board. The soup wasn't.
Yeah.
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 Well.
There's a lot of people that got caught up.
Yeah.
So
See.
it's not just when that type of thing happens,
Yeah.
it's never just that person.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
said, it's a ring.
Yeah.
It's like snowfall or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
The
why.
amount of lives taken, I think that's really the saddest part because I
Yep.
think it comes down to
Absolutely.
money, and it's like, that's not worth the lives that have been taken. And now it's a real epidemic. So, and then when you look at the laws that are put into effect and, all of that because of fentanyl and, the people profiting, I cannot stand it, and happy someone got
I
caught.
don't feel sorry for it at all.
No.
No.
Police.
No.
Police
Yeah.
officer.
And see, what I don't like, the worst thing for a good cop is a bad cop.
Yeah.
Because it puts a target on all them.
Yeah.
That's why I always it just really messes them up. I know a lot of good ones. Officer JJ, and he's tainted by stuff like that, right?
Right.
So that because people see your uniform, that's all they see.
Yep.
You're a man or a woman in blue.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Is the soul here? He's not here. We're gonna let him go. All right, you didn't make it. Okay, we got a special guest. Hey, lady, you want to say anything about all this
No.
news? You
No.
sure?
Well, only about the indictment.
Yes, go
You
ahead.
see, people are really excited about the indictment,
Yeah.
and I am not yet
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
Until I see him in a suit that matches that color of his.
Matches the color of your sweater.
when everything is matching,
Right.
and I'm like, all right,
Yeah, I see. Right.
now we can have a conversation.
That's right.
I'm gonna be excited. Then get him matching. Then we know that it's working.
Right.
It's supposed to work.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. All right, my guest this evening is this gentleman right here to my left, Mr. Shamann Walton. Mr. Shamann
Hey,
Walton, the author of
elected official right there.
See it? From Juvenile Hall to City Hall, your resume can change. And he is the member of the Board of Supervisors, represents District 10. I don't know why I want to say 11. I don't know why I want to do that. District 10. And we're going to get into his story. We could subtitle the show Getting Out and Staying Out. How's that? Can we do that?
I like that too.
Okay. And because we are featuring Shamann Walton and the book, Supervisor Walton, please, I gotta remember Supervisor Walton and the book. And his story of getting out and staying out. I'm gonna do this only during this first hour. If you have a story where you got out and stayed out, if you have a story, I don't care if it's juvenile hall, okay? I don't care if it's 10 years in the feds, you got out and stayed out, you call, you tell us what your story is. I will buy.
I like that, Doc.
Man, you caught me, man. You caught me, man. I will do a book giveaway.
Oh, that's what's up.
I will do a book giveaway. All right.
What's the number to call?
You call at
877-955-1061.
Cameo number. Say it again.
877-955-1061.
You call and tell us your story of redemption. Don't be making nothing up, okay?
Making up war stories.
Don't be making up nothing. All right, don't be about 10 years and left for no. I mean, be real. That's right?
Funny.
Call us and tell you your story of getting out and staying out, your story of redemption, how your resume has changed, and I will buy you a copy of Mr. Shamann Walton, Supervisor Walton. I'm so happy. I see the book. I see his face. I go crazy. I will buy you a copy of the book.
That's what's
All
up.
right.
877-955-1061.
I'm only doing
this
this the first hour, 8 to 9. You got to do it. You got to jump on the phones, call in. I'm only going to do it during the 8 to 9 hour call in. Tell us your story of redemption. Now, I can't use my story. Come on. I'm gonna get a copy of the book anyway because I was in there for parking tickets, so that don't really count. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Remember I told you my parking
Yeah,
ticket
that was
story
hilarious.
in the Cocoa County Jail. Y'all don't even know that story, huh?
Oh, I'm sitting there smiling out.
Yeah, man.
I know that story.
They still, man, parking tickets. They'll do it. Now they just boot your car and take it. Don't give you.
I had to come visit you in jail.
Man, talk about a war story. Talk about a war story.
But that doesn't count. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
gosh.
No. And they stuck me in a bunk, man, with a I'm in there. He said, dude, so what you in here for, man? I'm in for parking tickets. I said, what you in here for? He said, attempted murder. I said, oh, Lord.
Wow.
Get me through the night. Now, but
He was supposed to be your best friend.
yeah, well,
You were supposed to make friends with him.
I did.
Okay, smart.
I slept with my eyes open all night. That does not count. What's up, Soul? Jump in, man. Let me show you the book.
Hey, what's up, Mr. Supervisor?
How you doing this
brother?
evening, man? All right, man. I'm
Hey,
doing
man,
great.
Good to see you. Just watching you afar over here in Richmond. Just keeping my eye on Frisco politics, and just love to see what you're doing, brother. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir. Likewise.
Yes, sir.
With the supervisor is his uncle,
That's right.
Corey Monroe.
Oh, man.
What's up? What's up?
Omega's in the
In
house.
the building.
What's
Fresh
going on?
Coat. They call him Fresh Coat.
You know, I got that name. Fillmore named me Fresh Coat.
Did they?
And I grew up in Hunters Point, but the Fillmore brothers named me Fresh Coat.
No kidding.
Yes.
Well, you must have been fresh.
All right.
And tell her about your relationship to the supervisor.
This is my sister Kathy's son.
Mhm.
So great guy. I'm just happy it's my life. But he was off the hook when we was young. So
Okay, we'll go back. We'll go
okay.
back there. But when you see this book, this how does it make you feel? We don't get to him. How does it make you feel as his uncle?
it's amazing. I mean, I cried when I seen it. I got my copy, man.
Oh,
I mean, I'm proud of him, man. You gotta be honest, man. I mean,
with family, man.
totally unbelievable. Like everybody, like, oh, Supervisor Shamann. I'm like, how in the hell did that happen, right? Never
Hey,
give
Doc,
up.
did the book just come out?
Yeah, Mon, go ahead. Just talk about the book. We'll
Yep.
jump into it right
Thank
now.
you so much, Doc. So we kicked it off with a book signing on March 18th, and then the link went live. So we've been out for a little bit less than a month, doing well, but it's really just a story about my life and talking about incarceration, but the fact that with God, real mentorship, a strong mom, and really exposure, you can change your life and become what you want. And I know a lot of friends that I grew up with have been incarcerated and have been successful. But as I looked across the country and quite frankly, just my experiences, never really knew anyone who was incarcerated and did time in juvenile hall and got to a pretty high level in politics. And so I really wanted young people to know that you could do anything you want to do and your resume really can change with those elements. And so just excited to get the story out and want to do everything I can to help young people have hope and realize your circumstances don't define you.
I love the title of the book, From Juvenile Hall to City Hall. Your resume can change. Now I'm telling you one more time, 877-955-1061. Is that correct? You want to give us a call, tell us your story of getting out and staying out.
And when you call, wait a second, because we have to go run and get the calls. We're not gonna. We're screening the calls.
Yes.
So we're not just gonna put you on. So give us a second to get in there. Call for a minute. We'll be there.
Hang on. Okay. All right. Yeah. Only during the first hour. I'm doing this in the first hour. Okay.
Only during the first hour. Slow down, Dr. Marshall.
Okay. I'm excited, man.
I can tell.
I am. This is a big deal. I'm excited, man.
I could tell.
Oh, let me take it.
There you go.
Fabulous said breathe.
Yeah.
Okay. Take a sip.
Yeah. He did say breathe. How you know that song? You be in the streets.
I don't know what's going on.
You be in the streets, huh?
No,
you know, parking
for
a long time. How's that?
Yeah.
What you gonna say, bro? Malcolm?
I just said no, Mike. He really don't be in the streets. That's not true. that's not true.
I run into a lot of people who are in the streets.
Gotcha.
There you go.
So I know a lot of people from the streets. So Shamann, first of all, when did this journey begin for you? Has to be just a wonderful flashpoint in it, right? A milestone, something that did you really even think you were gonna write a book?
So this really been a 25-year journey. In 98, I started working on a book.
Oh.
And obviously the title wasn't that because I was not in City Hall at the time. It was really entitled What Have I Learned? And over the past 25 years, I've included a lot of stuff, taken a lot of things out. And, again, going back to the fact that we know so many people who've been successful and have been able to change their life, but politics is not something that a lot of people have looked at and look forward to as career, particularly folks who've made some mistakes. And so I wanted to highlight that you can be anything, but also talk about the journey and the road to political life as well. And that's what became about once I really started looking at the changes that I was making in the book over the years and where I was and my space in life and all the things we've done with and for young people. Figured we should talk about the fact that we were incarcerated, but able to change our life, and that is not the narrative that defines me anymore.
Where is it? So Malcolm was obviously named after. You have to ask like who's named Malcolm X, right? My life has been probably mainly defined by two people, Dr. King and Malcolm X. And I always tell anybody knows me knows Malcolm introduced me to history, everything. He made so much sense to me, and he showed me the bigger picture, right? The picture, or as they say, what's really going on, not what you think is going on, but the total setup, right? And so I know every time I go into one of these places, there's a Malcolm X in there. I don't care if it's Juvenile Hall, I don't care if it's Quentin, I don't care if it's Phoenix, I don't know, Lompoc, I know, and just seeing this, man. But let me just, when you do this, you've never been ashamed about talking about your past. So you've never been reticent about it, right? Which I admire, because some people just won't put it behind them. You know what I'm saying? And read this first, the dedication piece, because I just saw this, right? First time I seen the book, and I think we should just tell everybody who this gentleman is that you dedicated the book.
Definitely, and it's a whole chapter in here about him.
I saw that.
There's no way I could write a book obviously, without talking about him, without talking about Uncle Corey, without talking about you. But this person is very instrumental and real key to who I am and where I am today. I would like to dedicate this book in the chapters of my life. I will continue to write to Fillmore Graham, the man who interjected on the story I was writing, and not only showed me it was possible to change the script, but taught me by example and exposure the chapters I could write if I really wanted to.
Wow.
That's powerful. Those of us that know Fillmore know exactly what that means.
I haven't heard that name in a long time. Nice to hear that name. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a powerhouse. He's our fraternity brother, and we got a call. We got some? All right, well, let's take the call because we got plenty of time to talk. I want to hear this story of redemption. Who's calling? Go right ahead. You on? Yes? No? How you doing? Who is this?
Steve.
Steve, how you doing, brother? Thanks for calling tonight. We're celebrating Brother Shamann, Supervisor Shamann Walton, and his book From Juvenile Hall to City Hall, Your Resume Can Change. What's your story of getting out and staying out?
Well, I'm gonna give it to you short.
Yes, sir.
Back in what was it, 85?
Mm-hmm.
85, 86. I was walking around the yard and folks from a partner of mine after working out. And I remember saying to him, I'm tired, man. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was only a few months from paroling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and the ideal in my mind was I was through. I was tired. I had done it, right? I had been in already 4 times. And long thing short, less than 3 years later, I was coming down the corridor in Soledad. I was once again, for the 5th time, back in the penitentiary. And I ran across the same guy. And I realized back at that point that it ain't enough to just be tired.
Mm-hmm.
Because a tired man will still drag himself around that track.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get to the point where I understood that I had to take myself completely off the track.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Now, bringing it closer to where we are today. I am now 62. I ain't been in the pen. I've been out of the pen, in other words, since 97.
All right, brother. Yeah. Congratulations, bro.
I ain't gonna say it took no fast, easy track thing, because I got back out here and got tripped up again.
Yeah.
But now I haven't been in contact with the police or anybody connected to them in over 20 years.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
And I'm in the car with my 14-year-old daughter, who I have successfully raised, and I have 4 others that I didn't get to raise.
Yeah.
And what my whole point is I figured out something, man. It ain't when you get tired, it's when you're ready to take yourself completely off of that track.
Oh, wow. Wisdom, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, hang on now, man. I'm going to get you a copy of the book. Don't go nowhere, okay? I got to get your name, your address. Shamann, say something to the brother, man.
Well, one, I just appreciate you taking the time to listen and calling in and sharing your story. Because at the end of the day, being able to stay out and pointing out the fact that there are going to be some trials and tribulations, even when you attempt to make a change, but you got to be all the way in it. So I appreciate you and your wisdom and your words of advice, and most certainly for being a productive member of community. And it looks like you've been free now for about 26 years. So thank you for sharing your story with us.
You gave him that number back. That's right. That's that brother told me, man, I'm gonna give him my number back, man. And I want to say congratulations on being a dad, man. I mean, that's what you can't do. when you're inside.
Right.
And having your daughter sit right there by you, man, and listening to this is beautiful. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much, man. Now, Ann, I think Ann is getting his information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. All right.
That's a great way to start.
That is wonderful. 877-955-1061. Your story of redemption. You're getting out and staying out. We will get you a copy of From Juvenile Hall to City Hall. Your resume can change by San Francisco Supervisor Shamann Walton. Am I slowing down because I'm still amped?
Nah, you perfect.
I'm still amped.
Great.
I am. And all right. Okay. Where were you born, raised? Let's go through the whole bit. Let's jump in there until we get another call.
Yeah, and that's always been the $1 million question, and the book dives directly into all that. But originally from San Francisco, lived in public housing in Hunters Point and Potrero Hill with family. Then eventually lived in a couple of barrier cities, but eventually moved to Vallejo where I was raised. And moms was trying to always keep me in a certain environment. But of course, Vallejo, like any other suburb outside of a big city, has its own challenges and things to get into for young folks, and was a victim of my environment in a lot of ways and fell to a lot of the elements around me. But fortunately, because of mentorship, because of Fillmore Graham, because of Omega Boys Club, because of the opportunity to change, it really gave me an opportunity to shift. And the one thing I want to say, because why I highlight exposure all the time, is because that's everything. You know, Mr. Graham used to talk about Black colleges and what took place in that environment, and we could hear about it until we were blue in the face. But until I went to the Youth Leadership Conference in 1992 that the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated was putting on at the time, and I had just got out of Juvenile Hall about 2 weeks prior to that. In fact,
was that soon after we got?
Yes. In fact, a lot of people told Mr. Graham, don't take me on that trip.
Yeah.
They said he is unsalvageable. Do not take him. Take somebody else who would benefit from that trip and experience in a better way. And getting off that plane in Atlanta, Georgia, and seeing folks at those schools and seeing young Black men that looked like me, that were enjoying themselves, that were having a good time, seemed like they were running the city. And I asked every last one of them, like, how did you get to this point? And you know what the answer was from each one of them individuals? Education.
Yeah.
Education.
Yeah.
And seeing that firsthand, having that experience, it was really for me like a pilgrimage of some sort.
I like that word. I like that
in
word.
The Black college experience. Yeah. And that was the catalyst for my change.
Blew your mind, didn't it? Seeing all
Blew my
that.
mind. Still does to this day. Yeah.
I remember we sent them Corey down there for the first time on the college tour, and he went down there. Man, what was that like, Cole? And I'm saying that because I want people to see what Shamann saw, what Supervisor saw when he went there.
It was totally amazing, and that was at last Thursday before last. I got a chance to talk to the young people who went on the college tour.
Yeah,
thanks to Diane Gray,
Diane
100%, and they're out there watching what we see. But it blew my mind. It woke me up. I didn't know Black people was in school because Dan Rather never talked about it on the evening news. You know what I mean? So it just totally blows your mind, you know. And I just recently went to the homecoming. It's still just live. It's awesome, man. Nothing like seeing, you know, some Black people, man, educated, doing their thing, which we all are educated, but it's nothing like going to the South and seeing us, and up to Washington, D.C., seeing us at Howard and Morris Brown and all these great colleges. Yeah.
I remember when JT went down there and he said, hey, we got him on video saying, I saw brothers in white coats.
Lab coats, man. Yeah.
Walking around with them lab coats on.
Yeah.
You don't see that. You don't see that.
Doc, I remember going to see Hampton University, and I just remember thinking, damn, the Cosby Show is real.
Yeah, you know? The Cosby Show. That's right.
Like a different world. It really is a different world.
Real.
I had no idea.
It's real. Yeah, and it's a reason they don't show us that, right?
Out here. Good Lord.
It's a reason they don't want us to see that, you know, because it's Black people being successful. But it's up to us to say something about it.
And he took advantage of it. And we have a saying, Cole, you know, some get it right away, some get it sooner or later. She doesn't like this part. The next part is some never get it. She believes they're going, at some point, they are going to get it.
That's right.
But you got it right away. I mean, coming home from that, did it click, boom? I'm going. All you got to do, all you got to do is turn right and keep straight. Is that what clicked for you?
It really made, it hit me so hard. It really made a change in me. The things I started doing when I came back home, the way I lived when I came back home, the things I looked forward to, having, and I think always, because even in my life professionally, having something to look forward to is always something that drives me. And the fact that when I came home, I knew I had an opportunity to go back to a historically Black college and university. It was right before my senior year. Now, I've always gotten decent grades, even through incarceration, even through being expelled from school, even being a teen parent. All these things are talked about in the book because your circumstances really can't change. But that trip changed my life forever. And I truly believe without that experience, I would not be standing here or sitting here with you on the radio today.
Go ahead, jump in, Cole.
I just want to say this, like Shamann always just had high energy. Like he was one of them babies that'd climb out the crib. You know them babies? Like he had that kind of energy. And like I grew up in Hunters Point over in West Point. So, he had that energy, man, just running around and, rest in peace to Frank Nitty and, hanging out with Fonzo and them, and just had a whole lot of energy, man. So he never not had energy. And my father didn't play, but he had to think when it came to Shamann. Like, I'm killing this kid. So he had to take him to Martin Luther King Park to let him run that energy out. So even being successful, he still has that energy. It's just like John Henry, right? Yeah. John Henry got that energy in the street. So now he has the same energy doing both sides of the conversation.
Right. Exactly. Let me get the number out again. We got another call?
Yeah, 877-955-1061.
Your story of getting out and staying out. I want to hear it. We want to hear it. Supervisor Walton wants to hear it. Corey Monroe wants to hear it. Okay, we got it?
Yes.
Yes. Who's calling?
Hello, this is Michael Carter. I'm calling to speak with Free Soldiers and Dr. Marshall.
How you doing, Michael? Go right ahead. You're on with Supervisor Walton and Mrs.
All right.
What's your story?
My story is I was arrested at 17 years old. I did 3 years in Fairmont, San Leandro County Juvenile Justice Center.
Yep.
Graduated, and I was able to make it out. I went straight to Job Corps. Went straight to college, and I worked for Fortune 500 companies. And I also still progress in college. I'm still taking classes as well as I got a full-time job, and I have a baby on the way.
Oh,
and
wow.
If it wasn't for the grace of God and meeting Dr. Marshall, I feel like I wouldn't be in this position today.
Thank you. Mike, let me ask you, man, when was your turning point? When did it click in? Because see, a lot of folks get out, but they don't stay out. Some people.
Right.
What was it for you?
For me, it was the fact that I have ADHD, and me having to deal with myself in a caged room. It was so overwhelming for me to have to submit myself to myself, to accept myself, and understand the cards that I was dealt with in my life. My parents divorced when I was 7 years old. I turned to the streets. I started gang banging, selling drugs. I wasn't successful in that, so I went straight to college right after that, because once I went to Juvenile Hall, I was able to kind of plan my life out the way that I wanted it to be versus the cards that I was dealt with in life, which was pretty much me being in jail or me being dead because of the environment that I grew up in and the lack of support from my family, which I have now. But at the time, I didn't have that, but I had to fight every day to get to the status that I'm at now, to be able to communicate with my parents efficiently and talk to them every day. But growing up, it wasn't easy for me to articulate anything I was going through, because I felt like I was being passed around like a cigarette, in a casino. There was no ownership or no support. I felt abandoned. I felt neglected. I felt all these different symptoms that I couldn't really put my finger on because I was so young. I didn't know if it was me or if it was the environment that I was in or if it's the situation that I was, or my family that I was born into. But after going to Juvenile Hall and doing 3 years, I realized that the choices that I made weren't really good. And once I was able to focus and I found God in jail as well. Once I found God and all the demons were rinsed out of my spirit, I was able to get out of jail and go to college and go and do all these things that my parents still don't believe I'm doing today. My parents still think I'm selling drugs. They still think I'm out in the streets and gang banging and all this stuff. And I got a full-time job. I have a baby on the way. I'm working towards my apartment now. And so many things that God has opened the doors for me by me trusting him and following his footsteps. I was able to become a man, and I just wanted to share that with everybody on the computer, because when I was young, I didn't think I would be alive. I didn't think I would be 21. I didn't think I would be 33, which I am today. And it's a blessing and a testimony, and I would love to share, you know, my story, because I know it's a lot of other young brothers that struggle like me, and, you know, they lose hope and lose self-confidence in themselves, that they feel like they are not able to achieve anything. But if you step back and put God first, oh my God, he will open every door that the devil has closed in front of you.
You know it's Sunday,
you will
brother.
be
You know
able-
you're preaching. You know it's Sunday, right?
Oh my God, it is. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Listen.
And I just thank God so much, because he opened every door that I thought would never open for me. And I am so happy, so blessed. Every day I wake up, I thank God for everything. I taste the air. It's fresh, fresh oxygen. There's no blood on the walls. There's no piss on the walls or poo-poo on the walls due to people in there suffering, dealing with their own self-consciousness.
Man, brother,
And
you
that's
got
what
a testimony, man. You got a testimony. Let me let Supervisor Walton and Corey both say something to you, and then we're gonna get your information. I got a special treat for you. Go ahead.
So one, again, I just want people to really understand, as we get these calls, how you can learn life lessons, make some mistakes, and make the changes you need to stay alive and free. Secondly, I want to thank you for talking about the things that you did to make changes, talking about Job Corps, talking about going on to college, because sometimes people think that change, you go from one point one day and then all of a sudden you're successful, all of a sudden you're at the top. And there's no roadmap to achieving success, but most certainly you have to take incremental steps to get there. And so I want to thank you for sharing that, letting people know it didn't happen overnight, but you did what you needed to do to be successful and staying alive and free.
My thing is get out and spread the message, you know, talk to the young brothers and the sisters, man, because they're not prepared for the consequences, man. You know, do a lot of work up at Juvenile Hall with Jack Jacqua, and a lot of young people come in there, man, and they didn't understand the consequences. So get out there and let the young people know, man, so we could prevent as many of them as we can from going into the system and helping them get out and stay out.
You know, Michael, I don't know. You mentioned me. I don't know. Maybe it was, if I had anything to do with it, that's great, because I know I've been up there to that Juvenile Hall many times to talk to brothers and the radio show. But for you, we're gonna send you a copy of the book From Juvenile Hall to City Hall by Supervisor Walton, and I'm gonna send you a copy of my book too.
Right.
I'm gonna send you a copy of Street Soldier, man. So if you like reading, you're gonna have to read, man.
And I just want to say something real quick about that, because you know, obviously Dr. Marshall is one of my main mentors, and I bought his book with me, Street Soldier, today because I brought it in to get it signed. I'm gonna sign my book, and I want my signature. I've had this book for now. We got proof over 20 plus years, because I got my boarding pass from a flight to Atlanta that says September 98 in here.
Wow.
So, and I still haven't gotten it signed, so I made sure I brought it in tonight to get mine signed.
Mike, now don't go nowhere, man. We're really proud of you, man. Really, really. And I don't, you just continue. We got a saying that if you do good things will come to you. And if you're willing to do right, people want to help you. And obviously, man, your life has shown that, and this testimony has shown that. So thank you so much for calling. And can we get his information?
Got his information.
Oh, you got it already?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Okay, brother. One love, man. Stay in touch. All right. And look for these books. We're going to get them to you. Okay.
He already left.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't that great?
Yes, it was.
Oh, my God. Oh, wow. Okay. 877-955-1061. We're only doing this during the first hour, giving away a copy of From Juvenile Hall to City Hall. Your resume can change by Supervisor Shamann Walton. Is there a piece in here you want to particularly read? Yeah, I love when they made me do, when I'm on a book, they made me do a book reading. Did he do this? Did he find a passage that was like, I like springing stuff on people.
Yeah,
you
I
know that.
see.
All right, okay.
see.
Yeah, well, take your time. Take your time.
I'm gonna find something.
Corey can talk about you all you want. While you're doing that, I love that.
Well, that's the beauty of being on the live free, right? It's like I have my notes because thank God y'all know better bring your notes, right? But one of the things I like about both of y'all books is I'm in the book, right? So I learned to just hang around them. I don't have to write a book. Just keep doing good things, and you end up in the books, right?
That's what all you had to say. You are. I remember. I'm gonna guess why I'm thinking when I first met you and Brother Graham, and we're in the same fraternity. Let's just let everybody know, both members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Fillmore Graham was a member of and if I was talking about Fillmore, I might not get back to you, but because he means so much to me and he means so much to you. But he sort of did the handoff to me, and he said, "I got this young man, and he's ready to go to school." And I said, "Well, we got a couple of requirements here." And so he spent the summer with us, I think, back right when school. We would work things out, and then get you off to Morris Brown with a little money, and you became one of our 270 college graduates. And it'll be 270 by the end of May.
I mean, that deserves a big.
Oh,
That's it.
Yeah. But I tell, and that's that whole saying. And when I say, if you do good things will come to you. And if you're willing to do right, that would only happen because he was willing to do right. If people are willing to help you, and I can't stop. I can't stop bragging on you, man. I neither can Corey. You have no idea when you ain't around. We talking about you all the time. We do, and see, and Corey, I understand that people that know you well. Other people look at the titles. We just sit in awe of your trajectory, and we're gonna get to the political thing. I mean, you're going back to being supervisor when you leave here, but here you just Shamann, right? You with us. Did you find something you'd like to read from the book?
I got something.
Okay.
My daughter is just a baby, and though she needs me, I cannot do anything for her. I'm in the 11th grade and responsible for a human being who I helped to create, but lacking the depth needed to conceptualize the magnitude of the role I need to play. What kind of parent am I? Even at her age, though she cannot talk, she can recognize the consistent faces versus someone whose place in her life she cannot quite determine. I'm too young to have a child. To add to it, my growing record has set me back even further from the starting line. I think about her daily and cannot help but to ponder on the cycle that our gene pool is on the cusp of repeating. Could I avoid repeating the errors of my mostly absent father, or was this the road I too would take? Who will be the one to take care of her and protect her? Who will be the male presence in her life, teaching her what she needs to know from a father's standpoint? Clouded by the many questions, I realize that this time is just bigger than me. I want to do better, but truthfully, I don't know how to get there. Who am I? Where do I go from here?
Oh, man. Wow.
That's a reflection point in the book. I do some reflecting throughout the book, and that's a reflection point that I was writing about when I spent my longest stint in Juvenile Hall. My daughter was 6 months, and she came to visit me. My mom brought her to visit me on Thanksgiving in Juvenile Hall.
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough. How much of the book did you actually, you did it with somebody, or because mine is with somebody too?
And shout out to Keisha James, a close college friend, really a sister. She wrote the foreword. And so I wrote the book, and then Keisha had written a couple of books. And so I sent her the entire book. And what she did was, I'm very direct in my writing. And she made the language flow better, much nicer, and term things in a way that was better for people to read. So she basically went through the whole book and then wordsmithed it to where everything stayed factual, but at the same time, it was easier on the ears.
Yeah, no, that's what that's what those folks can do.
Yes.
They send you back your manuscript and you read, right? That how long from I know your conception of it, but from the time you actually, so you actually sent her a draft, right?
Yeah,
and
so
you got it back.
And this, going back to, I probably sent her this particular when I thought I was done, like in 2016.
Okay.
Then she went and did what she did.
Yeah.
And then I kept waiting because I was like, I don't want to put out the book until I've made it. I kept saying, I don't want to put out the book until I've really done something that people want to read about. So I kept waiting and kept waiting and kept waiting. And then I finally said, you know what? We need to get the story out. We need to get the message to young folks. And we're going to go with what we got.
You can't put it back.
That was it.
What'd you say?
There'll always be a
Malcolm?
way to outsmart people who
That's
don't
something from
understand it.
That's Malcolm, ain't it?
Yeah, but that's something from last week.
Okay.
I know that. I remember that. Yeah. So,
But yeah, I kept waiting and waiting for the right time.
Yeah.
And
And
there's
then
never
that
the right
something
time.
said, now is the right
That's
time.
right. That's right. I kept saying I want to make it somewhere, and I don't know where that somewhere was.
yeah, because you've been making it as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And I just want to say, niece Monique, Shamann's daughter, is doing great. She's married to Nick. They have a beautiful daughter. So Shamann ended up being one of the greatest fathers
Oh, yeah.
around. And I remember he had a picture with her. She was in this little tin bathtub. It's just the most beautiful picture. She had big, beautiful eyes like Left Eye. Y'all remember Left Eye? TLC.
Yeah.
But he's a great dad. She turned out great, married, bought a house, everything.
Yeah. One of the best weddings I've been to was your wedding, man. Your wedding was fun.
So I'd like to just, if I can ask a question.
Of course.
I just want to know, how are you feeling right now? What's going on inside you right now?
I'm excited about the book, but also excited. I got 4 years left, as a member of the Board of Supervisors, and we got reparations going right now, which is big for us in San Francisco.
You're talking about work. I'm talking about as you sit here in this, because it's all over your face. As you sit here in this place right now, how are you feeling on the inside right now, Shamann? If you could share that with us.
But definitely excited and proud of the fact that we have a story that resonates with folks. And, happy to be in a place where we can send out a message of change and hope and do it in a manner where folks can see the facts and see it for themselves that everything is possible. So I'm definitely juiced to be in this position. And that's why I said, I kept waiting for the right time and decided that if you keep waiting, you might not be here when you put the story out. But no, I'm elated to be in this position. Never thought that I would be in this space. So definitely excited.
And so when we're at that place where we find ourselves at a place where we never thought we would be, there are all these other emotions that just go through. And either I'm just old and crazy, but I just see a whole bunch of other stuff that's just coming through, because that gentle part of you, I've seen you come close to tearing down a building. That got my attention.
Yes.
When you were putting people, you were getting them straight. Like, no, this is not what we do here. But then there is that gentle part, that part that's got a lot of gratitude and wonder and marvel at being at this point in your life right now to be here and do this. And so maybe I'm just misreading.
No,
that's what I'm sensing.
Well, you're definitely
from you
not
now.
misreading it. And I think to your point, when you achieve something that you didn't expect
Yes.
to be in a certain space, it does something to you. And it's almost like an out of body experience.
Yes.
It happened, graduating from college. It happened getting elected to the Board of Education. It happened becoming executive director of Young Community Developers. It happened, getting elected to the Board of Supervisors. It happened becoming the president of the Board of Supervisors. These are not the things that, you work hard to do to be successful and thrive in the area. But when things happen to you that are unexpected, that definitely does something to you.
Yeah, it does.
And let me just add this, lady, for us to see it, for us to actually see it, right? And because you see somebody when they're 16, and then you just Yeah, Cole, I know you, man.
I always knew it. I could see it a long time ago. Okay, we are back with Supervisor Shamann Walton and his journey from Juvenile Hall to City Hall. It's been an amazing journey, and surrounded by. It's funny when they say when you're ready, the teacher will come, and the mentors began to show up, and when they showed up, you were ready for them.
We definitely were, and it took a little bit of time though. I mean, as folks who knew me growing up would tell you, and I'm still a stubborn person, so it took a lot of things to happen to get to that place. I definitely spent several stints locked up in Juvenile Hall, as I talked about earlier, being expelled from school, and as I talked about being a teen parent of a son and a daughter as a teenager, talk about the fact that raised by a single mom, all those elements and everything that says you're not supposed to be successful and not supposed to make it. But I did have those mentors in my life, and it took some time for me to pay attention and listen. So even the fact that Uncle Corey left and went to Morris Brown a couple of years before I had that experience. And of course, the work of Mr. Graham and Dr. Marshall. And so we had mentors. I had folks in my face always demonstrating what life could be like, but nobody close to my age, nobody there for me on a day-to-day that I could visualize and see. And taking that trip to Atlanta, seeing young people that look like me, 1 year removed from my age, a couple of years older. And that really did something to me.
It made it real.
It made it very real. And so that's why we have to expose our young people to everything, and we need to expose them as early as possible. A lot of young people who make it that come from families that expose them to education on a daily basis, to mentorship on a daily basis, to networking on a daily basis. Those are the things that need to happen in our communities every single day. And if we're not doing that as members of community, then we're dropping the ball.
Corey always say, he follow me wherever I go. I understand that because I'm the oldest in my family, and my father always talked about you set the tone for the rest of the family. You tell me, Junior, you set the tone for the rest of the family. But he says, you went to Morris Brown, here he come.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And now I follow him, right? So now I follow him, and he does so much, and then he stays in contact. Like, I'm somewhere, young, where you at? So it's a good thing. So he's good to follow him, and also DJ Brookter, executive director, YCD, man. They just got a good company of young brothers and some older brothers like myself that we hang out, and some sisters, man. So it's good to be in good company, and we got a lot of friends who used to run the streets that changed. And the good thing about Supervisor Walton is he's still around. He's still in the community with the people, man. And they love that. He's connected.
I saw him doing a rap, man.
Oh, man, this dude.
I saw him doing a rap.
This dude can rap still.
I did. I saw him doing it. I was like, what?
Yeah. He still can rap, right? He still can rap, man.
Lady, I want to meet. When did you first meet? You remember when you first met the supervisor? You remember when your first thing?
I don't.
You remember early impressions or anything?
Well, I'm just kind of. I don't remember when.
Okay.
I just know that I've watched him. And I've watched him move and work, and the way he carried himself, his beliefs. You couldn't pay me to believe he had ever been in Juvenile.
That is my litmus test for people who have really changed. When you hear something like that, and you be like, no, no, really? Because when you change to the point where it's like that other person doesn't exist anymore. You have the history, but the person doesn't. Your thought process has changed. Your actions has changed. You've literally become a different person, or you've gone back to the person that you were when you were little anyway, before you got caught up in that mess in the first place. The one that they were showing in the third grade, right? Before you got the streets turned you out, or, But that's a good way to put it, lady. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
And I think it was me coming in and speaking at one of the Thursday nights or Tuesday nights at the Boys and Girls at the Boys Club. And I think that's when we first met.
I remember when we had one of those anniversaries and I asked you to give the toast.
Yes. Right.
Yes. And I felt like the little old lady, Corey, when I said, God's got something special for you, boy.
Thank you.
Yes. I didn't know the story, but there's something about you. God's not done with you yet.
I hope not.
You
no,
no.
That's gonna be the rest of the show. We gonna get to all that. We gonna get to all that.
Yeah.
I wanted to say,
Yes, sir.
I was reading a book and one of the chapters said ages and stages. Well, life is about ages and stages.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Once y'all teach us, Doc, Mr. Still, and Jack, you have to, this part of you too. So you have to step up. Because you frustrate everybody if you just keep staying in the same stage.
Well,
right?
You got to continue to grow.
Exactly. You can't keep saying, hey, I was in jail, I was in jail.
You
okay,
grow.
you have to grow.
Right? Yeah. But once you get on that straight path, growth is going to happen.
That's right.
One more thing before I go there. The thing, and I'm going to ask him to talk about this too. So many people, I'm going to say young people, adults, they get out and they go back to the same environment and they get, I call it, how we say it now, reinfected or get caught up again. And the peer pressure, because Corey, I always felt like we were playing this tug of war with the streets, right? You be with us and you guys would go back out there, right? And what was that like for you? Were you able to, stay out the way, or did you go back to them and say, I'm on a different path? Just what was that for you?
I think one thing that was a blessing for me is I've always been a leader. And so when I was ready to make changes, people respected that. And, the very few people who didn't, it was easy for me to not spend time around or move away from, because fortunately I had leadership abilities even at a young age. And I think that's a real blessing because, first of all, going back to your environment, which I did after college, because I wanted to make sure I provided opportunities.
Well, I'm thinking at the time when you got out.
Yeah.
And
no, it just being a leader was fortunate, because so many people who want to change are still put in the environment. I still lived in where I was. I still lived, in my communities. But I also surrounded myself around positivity. I went to the Boys and Girls Club more.
Yeah.
I went to a church group once a week. I did a lot of positive activities. My friend Mario. Mario and I worked closely with Mr. Graham on setting up a college tour.
Yeah.
The next year, we had another organization in Vallejo that always went on a college tour. Willie B. Atkins Project, which is Willie B. was one of our frat brothers.
Yep.
And they always went, but they took a certain type of young person. Wasn't young people like me, which is fine, but. So I sat with Mr. Graham one day and said, we need to do a college tour so people can see what I just experienced at the Youth Leadership Conference. And we went on that first college tour with 15 people. And that was when I really got to see, because I was actually going to go to Tuskegee. But then we went on that college tour my senior year. We started in D.C. and went to Virginia, went down to North Carolina, South Carolina, ended in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's when I just fell back in love with Atlanta and Morris Brown, and the rest is history. But again, it goes back to that exposure piece.
That's the question I get a lot. They go back to the same neighborhood, they get out because we you guys have been in Juvenile Hall 18 times and they go back. But you changed everything about your going back. You changed the people you were with, the time, how you spent your time. You didn't go back and stand on the corner.
But I also had something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Because I knew when I went back after that leadership conference that I was going to do everything I could to end up in college.
Yeah.
And, I would be lying if I said I was perfect, or if I still have the same friends that I used to do dirt with. I still have the same friends that, I was fortunate enough to meet through college and grow up with all my friends, got friends for 30 plus years. So people I even did dirt with, we still tight to this day. But how we interact with each other, how we did things as we got older and more mature was really about keeping each other focused and keeping each other on the straight path. But being a leader has always been something that fortunately I was blessed with, because I wasn't the one who always followed what somebody else was doing. We all fell victim to peer pressure at some point or another, but it was easier for me to change because even to this day, I'm an only child in the sense that, I mean, I have, I hear that it's 10 of us. I have 2 sisters out here in the Bay that I'm close to, but I was raised with my mother as an only child. And so I'm okay with being alone. Mm. I'm okay with doing things by myself. And I think that, that has been something that has also helped me along the way.
One of the rules for living, part of the rules of living, a healthy person stands alone.
I wanted to say this because, like he said, he was kind of like not invited to the college tour. About 2 weeks ago on the Thursday, I was with Joe Silva. We all work for YCD. And it was a young brother there. Joe brought down there, and he looking at the college tour. He just got out of juvenile. So he trails Miss Taper, he like, hey, I want to go on the college tour. And it's like, great. Like, you don't tell the brother he can't go, because he was excited. He got a chance to see something he never saw, and he like, I want to go. So the next thing is, we're going to get you there. So there's hope. That might be the next Shamann Walton. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So it's just a great thing. So shout out to Joe Silva for bringing the brother, Joe from the mission, but we have to show them places like that. You don't tell them, oh, no, you can't go. No, brother, you could go.
Expand their vision. We're being joined now by Terrance Hunter. Terrance, you can unmute. Thank you for joining us, brother, as part of this show. I have you been listening? I don't know if you had a chance to listen. I hope you have.
Yes, I've been listening. And first of all, I would like to say thanks for inviting me on this show.
You are also the author of a book, Terrance Hunter, My 30 Years with the California Department of Corrections. 30 years of incarceration led to his miraculous transformation. And we got a stint in the Juvenile Hall, and now we got 30 years. And both of you have been able to get out and stay out. And let's tell folks how we met. I met you recently. I was doing a speaking engagement, and then you walked up to me and said, I seen you before. So Terrance, why don't you go ahead and just let everybody know how that came about.
Okay, I was at San Quentin State Prison in the mid-90s, and one of my associates came to me one day, asked me if I'd ever heard of Joe Marshall. I said, no, I haven't. He let me know you were coming to deliver a presentation and asked me whether or not I wanted to attend. And I was on a path right at that time that I was trying to make a transformation in my life and turn my life over to a better situation than what I'd been living in the past. So I agreed to come to your speech. When you came to deliver your speech, you introduced yourself. You told us about street soldiers and the Mago Boys Club. And you had a young man with you who was in his early 20s. And he told us a story of how his mother permitted drug dealers to cook crack cocaine in her kitchen. And he said that when him and his brother were little boys, they thought they were playing with toys, and they were actually playing with crack pipes and didn't know it. He went on to tell us that when he was about 13, someone told him that his mother was engaged in a sexual act in an alleyway with a drug dealer, and he armed himself with a gun and attempted to kill that individual. Well, as it turned out, I guess they introduced you to this young man, and he was there that day to let us know that he was getting ready to graduate from college. So that left an indelible impression upon me that you had taken a kid from his background, and now he was telling us he was graduating from college. And so after that experience with you, I walked away with a sense of an obligation of doing what I can do to help young people. So I started participating in the Scared Straight program at San Quentin, in which they would bring young guys who were having contact with law enforcement into the prison. Fast forward, I've been a member of the Saratoga Rotary Club for several years, and my club is fully aware of my past in terms of my incarceration. And I have about 100 members in my club. And one day I was talking to one of the members named Dave Eshelman, and I was telling him about my life story, and I mentioned your name. And he says, I'm very familiar with Joe Marshall. He says, we're in the same men's club in San Francisco, which I found hard to believe. And so in talking with you, he said you were going to come to the club. and speak as a guest speaker, but he didn't tell you about me.
No.
And so what Dr. Marsh was just explaining, I walked up to him when he came into the club and I said, Dr. Marshall, how are you doing? And he said, I'm doing very well. I said, I met you 29 years ago. And he had a really puzzled look on his face. I guess he was trying to figure out, was I staff or was I an inmate? And I told him I was serving a life sentence when I met him. And he immediately said, well, how did you get out of prison? I said, well, finally, the parole board found me suitable. So I can't even begin to put in words how that felt that day, to come in contact with this man who I consider to be a giant, to come in contact with him 29 years after meeting him. And I was on the other side of the fence wearing my personal clothes. And at that time, it was just a connection there that I'm sure will last a lifetime.
Yeah, I got to tell everybody who that young man who was with him. When I say this name, Mike Gibson.
Exactly.
I just got to give Mike all the love, send out to him for going in there. That, yeah, but they do. So
today,
remember you used to send us to San Jose every Saturday. Me and Mike with the Juvenile Hall in San Jose to speak to them. Doc sent us down there.
And just real quick, I got to talk a little bit about the diaspora of Live and Free Omega Boys Club, because I used to watch Mike, when he was a little bit younger than me, and be at the Boys Club and be at meetings and watch him when he first got out and when he started to grow. And then I had the opportunity to watch him come to Atlanta, Georgia, while I was at Morris Brown and he was at Morehouse, and continue to watch that young man's growth and bringing EMT-like program to San Francisco a few years ago. And Mike was very instrumental in us doing that, so we could build a pathway for Black people and people of color to get in the fire department. So shout out to Mike.
We said this from the beginning. All the minds that are out there doing it the wrong way, they're brilliant. Get them turned right, they can do the same thing. So with the supervisor, the supervisor is a supervisor. I'm playing that down, but I'm gonna blow it up now. He is a supervisor. He is the second most powerful person. Well, especially when you were not, well, to me, you are. I don't care. When he was the president of the board, he was the second most powerful person in the city. We got people in places who are doing wonderful things. And Terrance, what you're doing. I'm gonna ask you, how long did it take you to write your book? So we got 3 books here. See, and see, it's a good thing about writing a book. The story is immortalized forever, right? It's right here. It's immortalized forever. People can read it, pick it up. And I'm not going to let Ron DeSantis ban these books, okay? All right. No. How long did it take you to write yours?
Well, I went into the prison system on February the 25th, 1985, and they released me on December the 4th of 2014, 30 years later. 4 years after my release from prison, I wrote my memoir because it was a story I felt needed to be told. And then 4 years later, in 2019, I established my nonprofit, Empowering the Fatherless. You made a comment earlier, you were talking about how to go from being the person you were to the person you want to be.
Yes.
And my change took place in prison. When I went into the prison system in '85, they sent me to Folsom. There was no such thing as old and new Folsom. When I went to prison, there were 7 prisons, and they built 20-something prisons while I was in. And so for my first 11, 12 years of incarceration, I hung out with a certain crowd. I was involved in the criminal activities and the violent activities that took place in prison. And then one day I woke up, I was at San Quentin. I looked at myself and asked myself, how did I go from being a kid that my mother took to church at a very young age to someone who would kill someone and do the other violent acts I've done in my life? And I became curious. So I took the Alternatives to Violence program, which is a 3-day, 21-hour workshop. And I made the connection between my internal anger and how I felt about never having a father. And, before that, I just thought that I was a violent person who reacted to every situation in an extreme manner. But once I made the connection between not knowing my dad and how that impacted my life, I was no longer angry. And so then I started participating in the positive things that took place in prison. I told myself I was going to stay away from the negative things. So I'm a firm believer that in order for a person to leave prison a different person than they were when they went in, you have to start on the inside. It's not about being released and then trying to change your ways and become a different person. So the guys that I used to hang out with, I went to them one day and told them, you know, I'm from this point forward, I'm participating in the programs being offered that's going to help me get my life in order when I get out. And like the brother said earlier, when you're a leader from the beginning, you don't have the problems that followers have. Wasn't nobody dictating to me when I went into the prison system, even though I hung out with a group of guys. Nobody was telling me what to do per se. I did what I wanted to do. And so I chose to be the person that I was. And so when I decided I was no longer going to be that person, they had to accept that. And so my thing was, I'm going to start gravitating towards things that are going to help me get my life in order. So I started participating in vocational trades, college programs. I learned, I became a Microsoft specialist where I can use every application in Microsoft. I learned how to build desktop computers from the ground up. And so when I left prison, it was a very smooth transition. And as far as surrounding yourself, before I left prison, I joined organizations. I became a Toastmaster in prison. I was involved in the Alternatives to Violence Project, and I continue to be involved in organizations. And I think that's also a key to changing your life. In other words, the people I'm around are positive people who are doing positive things. Like I'm in the Rotary Club, for example, and we're not only trying to make a difference in this country and in communities here, we do things abroad. So it's been the people that I've surrounded myself with, the people I've met along the way. And I have to mention that during my incarceration, I took a program called Kairos. And in this program, I met a man named Bruce Hodgen. And this man asked me if he wrote me what I write him back. And I said, yes. And so as it turned out, he's a real estate agent, broker, land developer who lives in Saratoga. And his entire family embraced me and visited me for more than 20 years of my incarceration. And this is an Italian family who befriended an African-American man who was serving time for murder. And this man here for the past 20 years, I referred to him affectionately as my dad. And so all of these things came together that enabled me to become the person I am today. And it would be remiss for me not to acknowledge the fact that many invested in me along the way to help me become the person I am today. And for that, I'm eternally grateful.
Terrance, I gotta say, the last place you would imagine, or the last organization you would have imagined yourself being in when you were in San Quentin is the Rotary Club. So that shows, that's unbelievable. Those of us who know Rotary Clubs, that's the exact opposite. Let me run something by both of you, you, Terrance, and Supervisor Walton. Both of you have alluded to this, but recidivism is sometimes, 66%, as high as 75%. And I think we both know, well, I won't say that. I will say the statement. Those institutions generally are built to punish and not necessarily to be here. I mean, that's not their intention, right? So what would you recommend, whether it be juvenile hall, let's take it all the way up, because it's all jail, right? People getting caught up in the system. What are your thoughts on what has to happen? And you can take it from the individual level, and you've alluded to this, and also, the institutional level. What has to happen to when somebody gets caught in a trap, or what does Jack call it? Jack calls it the slave quarters, right? That's what Jack calls it, to move them out of that, so that they'll be able to get out and become the person that they were meant to be. Just your thoughts.
Well, sure. I authored the legislation to close Juvenile Hall along with Supervisor Ronan and Supervisor Haney.
Right.
And, the misconception was shut down Juvenile Hall, and then when folks make a mistake, there's not a place for them to go, which was totally not what we were doing. We were saying, let's reimagine the experience for a young person that makes a mistake if they're going to be incarcerated. So they should be getting a great education. They should be receiving skills to obtain employment. They should be getting mental health support, substance abuse supports. They should be able to participate in sports programs, everything that helps you be successful in life. And what we were seeing was the incarcerated experience looked just like it did when I was locked up in Solano County Juvenile Hall, when I was locked up in Contra Costa County Juvenile Hall. You walk in the line, you sleep on a concrete slab, one teacher teaching all subjects. So yes, you have special programs like when Uncle Corey and Jack go in and talk to young people, which is amazing. Those are the types of things that we need to be saturating our young people with on a day-to-day basis, all day, every day, instead of having them sitting in a room all day. So to answer your question, when people make mistakes, when people commit crimes, we need to give them all the good information that they need so they can get rid of, as my boy, Big Brother Sean Richards would say, get rid of that thinking.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do. But incarceration to punishment only does one thing: feed the prison pipeline. The number one indicator of folks who are in prison is a previous incarcerated experience. So that tells you they didn't get anything that will help them change and be successful from that previous incarcerated experience.
Now, before I get you to that, I remember anytime I would go to juvenile, I would just, it was like they were playing sports, playing cards, playing checker, playing down, just playing, right? And I'm saying, you got to figure out how to get out of here. You need to spend your time learning how to get out of here. But I know, and then, the counselors be sitting around and then they're just doing their job. I mean, they're doing what they're called to do. And I'm saying, this is just, just warehousing, right? But the kids don't know it. They don't know it, right? And so then, of course, it graduates and it moves on to, the county and then to the state, and YA we don't have any more, right? Do we still have YA? No. YA is gone, right? And so, all right, yeah, okay. So you heard, what are your thoughts? And a lot of them you've already said, Terrance, about that.
Well, first of all, you are very conservative with the percentage of recidivism. When I was in prison, the California system had more than a 90% recidivism rate, which if they were a business, they would have went bankrupt a long time ago. But as far as recidivism, there's a few factors involved there. When I first started participating in vocational trades, my fellow prisoners would say to me, "Why are you taking these things? Nobody's going to hire you. You're an ex-felon." And so when you look at it from the inside, a lot of those guys don't have any hope, and they don't believe that when they're released, they're going to be treated fairly. They believe their records are going to be held against them. People are not going to hire them. So why bother taking vocational trades? So that's one aspect of it. Also, when you look at the prison system, the way it's set up, it's not really set up in a way that prisoners are encouraged to improve themselves while they're in there. It's a voluntary thing. So only those of us who are self-motivated are going to participate in those type of programs. And when you look at most of the people in there, I'll speak for myself. When I went in, I was someone who suffered from low self-esteem. I didn't know it at the time. I was someone who wasn't a very confident person. I didn't believe in myself, and I actually found myself in prison and realized my capabilities. So I believe many don't believe they're capable of rising above their circumstances. They think the only thing they can do is sell drugs or rob someone at gunpoint, when they actually have skills and talents that they're unaware of. So I can say from the inside looking out, there's a lot of intelligent people in prison, but unfortunately they don't realize it. They don't realize their potential. And it's interesting because once my friends saw the parole board release me, then I have people that go into the prison, and they told me a lot of the men started taking a lot of the programs I were taking because they saw a good result. And you have to understand this: in prison, I can honestly say in my 30 years of incarceration, I never heard one positive story of a brother leaving prison and doing anything positive. It was always someone would come back and say, such and such is back in the county facing a 3-strike, or he got a new beef. We never heard of anybody being successful. So, I made my mind up that I was not going to be a part of this system anymore, that once I was released, that would be my last time being in handcuffs, being in the back of a squad car, being in someone's 6'9" cell. So I made my preparation before I left. And so currently you're talking about what we need to do. My organization is called Empowering the Fatherless, and I work with youth. So not only do I work with youth, but also work with men. So I'm in the Elmwood Correctional Complex, where I'm training men how to be better fathers and partners. With my Inside Outside Dad program, I offer a host of self-improvement programs such as self-esteem, effective communication, values and responsibilities, making decisions. I have a host of different programs. And I think that's what it's all about, because I'm in the Silicon Valley Boys and Girls Club and the Morgan Hill Unified School District, and I'm providing these youth with skills that they're not learning in school. And I think that's a problem when you look at the school system. All they're basically is teaching them math and English and things of that nature, but they're not teaching them coping skills. They're not giving them effective communication skills. So that's why you get all the violence. And so I'm just totally convinced that if we're going to turn the lives around of people who are incarcerated, first of all, we have to get them to believe in themselves and realize they're capable of doing better than they're currently doing. And I'm experiencing that right now with the men that I'm associated with in the jails and the youth that I'm coming in contact with. It's unfortunate, but quite often they're not being affirmed at home. They're not being told they can be anything they want to be if they're willing to do the work. And so, and then you look in the environments a lot of them live in, they come out, they don't see any hope. I mean, they're just looking at what's taking place in the community. And if you're not being exposed to anything beyond the community, then that's all you see. Then why do you think you can rise above it, especially if your parents haven't and their parents haven't? So it's about us getting these individuals to believe in themselves and investing in them.
One of the things, again, a million coachisms that we have, what makes me so proud of both of you is good advice, bad example cause confusion. And the thing that you get, your best proof is your example. So when they had Supervisor Walton, I tell him he was locked up in, what? No way, no, come on, you playing. No, man, for real. No, now he's a supervisor. What? No, look, that we know that here, but I go around the country, right? And I'm talking, whoa, man, you 1 year alumni,
what district?
I represent District 10. Bayview, Trail Hill, Deer Valley, Sunnydale.
Thank you.
Southeast.
What? Okay, thank you. I got you.
And,
yes, sir.
And Terrance, he plotted this out, see, because he would just, I had my stint. I had my stint in public service. That's what I call it, being on the police commission for 14 years. And I had the advantage of being appointed. I didn't have to raise no money.
Got you.
He has to, when I remember he first, Corey, he's going like, well, I'm gonna run for the Board of Education. You gonna run for the Board of Education? Really? You gonna run? Yeah, I'm gonna run for board. And when I found it in my conversations to him, he wanted to be a public servant. He wanted to be of service, and he felt this was the best way for him to do it, right? And I'm saying better you than me, brother. But you gotta be the one, right? So I remember when he planned this whole thing out, or remember he planned, I'm gonna run, then lo and behold, he ran. Twice. How many times you run before you got on the?
I lost my first election for Board of Education, and then I won my second one.
Yeah. Then he turns out to be the president of Board of Education. I said,
that's tight.
Damn, he ain't playing, Yeah.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Absolutely.
It's more so, whoever. The thing I found, I remember I took a class education of Black education in college. What I think people should work towards, or what I think is kind of like unfortunate, is that what Terrance is talking about, and you guys are kind of talking about what goes on in Juvenile Hall and like the programs that are set up, and what are you doing while you're in Juvenile Hall? Like what's going on? How can you get a better program? How you say like you trying to strip Juvenile Hall of kind of what it used to be and create a new Juvenile Hall. But sometimes I think what is important, sometimes kids that were kind of like not doing as well, the status quo to me should be you kind of like in schools, you get all this support and education in school, and then almost to the point where you go to juvenile, okay, you messed up, you did something wrong, but that support and everything that you need to become a successful adult continues in the Juvenile Hall. But I just wish that the Board of Education would have more programs. Because, for example, I went to Downtown High with and Cowboy was there. I used to go to summer school with B Hall. Yeah. They had some cool programs at that thing, at those schools, continuation schools, that they don't get in public school. Right. And then they got things that they do in public school that they don't get in the, you know what I'm saying? Like they have programs in which you can go to school and you get paid to go to school. Not to say that you got to put it on that level, you know what I'm saying? Or give someone a job. But you know, some things they need to sprinkle in. Like it should be just status quo. You learn how to do this. You learn how to work on your credit in school. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just seems like elementary to me. Like people should be doing that, and it's like, why don't we do that in the first place?
Well, everything
like, why does everything have to be a charter school to get it done?
Everything
or
you just
school?
described is how school should be, right?
Yeah.
Every young person should have every opportunity available
exactly
to them within the education system.
Yeah.
The resources are not there equitably across school sites.
Right.
Which is a major problem. Resources drive everything.
Right.
And, you know, once we get people to understand that we need to provide resources to the schools that have big gaps in achievement, just like the schools that are successful.
Right.
Because people have to care about other people's children.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you just described is what schools should be, but resources aren't going far enough and the will of everybody is not the same. But I just say this, at the end of the day, like Delane Easton used to say, who was one of our state superintendents of public instruction, everybody's life is dependent on somebody else's child. When you get on an airplane, that pilot is somebody else's child. When you are riding in an Uber, that driver that you dependent on to make sure you get from one destination to the next is somebody else's child.
Right.
And so we have to keep all that in mind as we do whatever we do in the work that we do. But resources most certainly play a major role in why certain things are in certain places and why the things that we need in the schools where people need us the most don't get the resources that are needed.
Do you ever think there'll come a day where they kind of like change the education, what the importance of like the educational system? I don't think there's been a breakdown of the educational system in maybe over 100 years. How we teach K through 5, you know, middle school, high school.
I mean, there's a former teacher, right? If
I'm just asking,
we need to pay teachers more.
That's right.
Okay.
I mean, that's where it needs to start.
Okay.
That's where it needs to start.
That's right.
We need to pay teachers more. The people that educate our young folks are highly underpaid.
Got you.
Highly under.
No, you're right. I mean, look, I opened my big mouth, Terrance knows story, and I said I would, you know, send them to college and find the money to do it. And I had no money because I was a teacher. Ain't no way I'm gonna do that. Yeah,
Right.
You know, teachers don't make money. Lady Estelle, same thing. You know, she was in I think, especially with our population, we're not valued, right? And everything starts with value. It's easy. I mean, you got to value yourself. You got to we value them. So the things that you do are based on you valuing them, right? Anything you do with your own kids is based on your value that you feel for them. And this is why so many people start these alternative programs, because, you know, why are people homeschool their kids? Because they don't feel they're going to get that.
Right.
And so if you value, because there are certain things that work. There's certain things that work.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain things that work, and you can build into your system, but you got to care about, and again, the expectations that they had, Terrance, the expectations that they had, even if you're smart, they think, how are you doing this? Rather than, of course you can do this. They expect, you know, you're always exceeding their view of you in the first place, but that's the way it's always been for us in this country from day one. You know, we've had to do it. We do it, right? We do it because we had to
make it happen.
So I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever do that, but I know what we can do for ourselves. And, you know, from the legislation he authors to the work that, you know, that Terrance is doing through his organization to what people around the country are doing for us, you know, for ourselves, it bears fruit. It bears fruit. I mean, I'm a big advocate, and they know I'm a big advocate of history and culture. I'm a huge advocate of that. The Black College was a history and cultural experience, right? All of that. And so they're trying to take that away, right? I'm a big believer of putting things in this Pell Grants and those things in vocational training in the institutions. They try to take those things away because they don't see any value in the Terrances or the Shamanns or the Coreys or Joe Marshall, right?
Dr. Marshall.
Yes, sir.
I would like to address what the gentleman just said about the school system. I have friends who whose kids went to school in affluent areas growing up, right? And their kids now are adults in their 40s and whatnot. And yet my friends still make donations to the schools that they went to. So they made donations to their schools when they were going to the schools, and they continue to make donations to those schools. And he's not the only one doing that. And they continue to make donations because their concern is about the kids in their communities. Mm-hmm. And so my thing is, I think when we look at the inner city, the same thing is going to have to happen there, is that people are going to have to step up and pretty much put their money where their mouth is. We hear all the time that the kids are our future, that the kids are our greatest asset. And I think quite often people just say that and it's just rhetoric. Right. But I think there should be a movement to get individuals who are from certain communities to invest in that community. And we know there's people out there with money that can do that instead of expecting someone else to do it. Because if we're going to be waiting for someone else to do it, we'll just continue to be waiting. We'll have the same conversation 10 years from now, 20 years from now. We're waiting from someone from the outside to come in and do something, what's going as far as changing what's going on in our communities. And I know a lot of people probably won't agree with that, but that's my position, that if we really want a change to come about, then we're going to have to make that change come about. No. And that's just my personal opinion.
I got to salute you, both of you, because you've proven that it can be done. So that's what happens. That you say, but every time they say, "Well, no, I can't. No, I can't." Yes, you can. Look, yes, you can. Yeah. Yes, you can. You what did Joe Thomas used to say about JT? He took away all the excuses, right? He took away all the excuses. That's one of our famous quotes that we use at the club. So we just got the hardest thing is getting the word out. That's why this show is so important. Yeah, that's why this show is important, is getting the word out, because people are. It's not hopeless. People are working. We're working even against the pushback that we're getting, because we're getting pushback all the time. You know, I mean, this is a marathon relay race for, you know, freedom, justice, and equality, right? And once you get it, though, you just do it. It's the, you know, how we've been. We just do this. This is what we do because of the results we know will produce. And yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, I'm wanting to believe that, like, San Francisco got a lot of opportunities, man. We have so many different cities and states, they don't have this opportunity. And shout out to all the homeboys and homegirls who got out and made it happen. You know what I mean? I mean, working in city jobs and Muni, you know, DPW, we got longshoremen. So shout out to that, man. And another thing too is individuals have to step up, man. You know, you have to. People get mad at me for that, but you do have to step up. Like, you know, I'm looking at a great place like YCD. They basically put it in your lap. The Latino Task Force, they put it in your lap. So the individual, we have to step up. You know what I'm saying? You can't just say nobody's trying to help us, man. I mean, I lost both of my parents as a teenager. You got to do it, right? I've never been to jail in my life, and I'm proud of that. Like, right. And I can teach you how to stay out. That's my thing, right. You know, and I'm proud of all the other brothers, young sisters. We got to tell them it's okay to stay out. It's all right to be a square too. You know what I mean? I'm not that much of a square. All my homeboys was in the streets, but
I'm a square.
Yeah. All right. You're right.
I'm loving it.
We have to teach both ways. You know what I mean? So the thing is to let people know, man, you got to step up, man. You know, nobody's going to give you nothing the rest of your life, man. You got to do it. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard out here. You know, people talk about thugs. I think the biggest tough person in the world is a parent raising a child. You know, got to go to practice after they've been to work, man. The hell with the gangsters standing on the block. What about mama that's getting out, going to work and got to be at practice? What about daddy that been at work all day? Them thugs and gangsters. Me picking up a gun, shooting at somebody when they ain't looking, that ain't nothing. That's hella weak. But somebody who getting up doing this stuff day to day, that's a thug. That's a gangster. That's who you get a shout out to, because this world ain't easy, you know. But we have opportunities in San Francisco. Step up, man. Go for it. Yeah, it's hard, but you got to do it. You know what I mean?
I can't tell you how much how much your example means to others. I can't say that enough. Here we are. You know, me and Mike walked into a prison, right? We got 3 books here, right? You only have control over what you do. And what you do inspires so many others. Right. And that's why to me, this is such a big deal. And the fact that both of you put your stuff in a book for somebody to read, you know, if somebody gonna get this book, you know, he gonna be sitting in juvenile, he gonna be reading this book and saying, I could become a supervisor. Right. You know, right. People need people to inspire them. They really do. I mean, Malcolm X was my inspiration, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody inspired me. So I look at the individual. If you want, you know, you never know how the impact you have on other people. And I just got to say that. That's why I'm so proud of him. Because no, he didn't have to step into this role. He could have stayed. He could have done something else, right? He didn't have to, right? And let me tell you something. Being in politics, this might be the only show he can come on. He ain't got to worry about being blindsided.
I was gonna ask him a question about politics. Actually,
you can do that.
Yeah. So what's the TV show that come on Channel 5? Meeting the Press.
Oh, Meet the Press.
Meet the Press.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Nah, I have a question because Hunters Point has a lot of potential. What do you see taking Hunters Point in that whole district? Because Hunters Point I'll be going through Hunters Point. I'll be like, man, it's because I'm from Fillmore, obviously, but it's kind of gentrified. And I go through Hunters Point and I have a sense of pride of blackness. So not to say that, you know, everything is black, because Hunters Point is so diverse now, but it has a lot of potential. And like, where do you see you taking Hunters Point? Is it 4-year term or 2-year term?
4-year term.
4-year term, yeah.
So I got almost 4 years left.
Okay, got you.
But Hunters Point, not only does Hunters Point have potential, it's an amazing place.
Yes.
Already. You know, we have some of the biggest projects that are revitalizing public housing, where folks have lived, and now, you know, in those dilapidated homes, where folks now will have brand new homes. We've already done a couple of sites in Sunnydale, done a couple of sites in West Point, done a couple of sites in Double Rock. And so we're going to continue to do that. We opened most businesses open during the pandemic on 3rd Street.
Yeah, I seen that.
We got a brand new grocery store, Lucky's, in Bayview Plaza. We got another grocery outlet on Bayshore. And we have the most amazing community center in San Francisco, period, hands down. 1550 Evans, which is the new community center from 1800 Oakdale. Okay. So I said all that to say a lot of great things are already happening in Bayview Hunters Point. Obviously, we got to continue to make sure we finish building all the affordable housing that we need. Mm-hmm. There's some work that has to be done around the Candlestick area that has not been followed through on because of some things that happened on the shipyard, part of the same development agreement. People falsified testing documents, so it's slowing down development in Candlestick. Homelessness is down in D10. 30+%.
Wow.
And so I always talk about all the great things that are happening.
Yeah.
We all know the things that have to be worked on. We got to deal with unhoused population, mental health issues and concerns. Of course, the city is not affordable to most people. So we got to continue to fight to work to make sure that happens. But it's also a lot of great things happening.
Definitely.
I'm always going to highlight the good stuff while we work on the challenge.
For sure.
See, and this is a perfect example. See, we all got to find what we good at. He's good at this, right? I used to say we need street soldiers everywhere. We need street soldier teachers. We need street soldier counselors. We need street soldiers everywhere. That's the phrase I'm using, right? Street soldiers, right? And because I'm not good at that, right? I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm gonna produce him. I'm gonna produce the Shamanns and the Corys, right? That's my job, right? And that's what Lay said, you know. And I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna find the Terrances. But if each of us has the same mindset to go ahead and produce results for the people in what we do, that's the best you can ask for. You want to say something? Go ahead, T. Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Marshall. When I informed one of my close friends that I was founding my nonprofit, Empowering the Fatherless, and that my goal and my mission was to support and embrace, you know, fatherless and at-risk youth, you know, he told me, it's an admirable cause, but unfortunately, you won't receive much money. And when he said it, it really struck me funny that I could have a cause that's mission is to improve the quality of life of youth, and there would not be funding for it. But then I thought about it, and I realized what he said is absolutely true, and I'm gonna tell you why. When you take affluent communities they have the money to take care of their kids. So when you talk about the problem youth, we're talking about youth in the inner city for the most part. And when it really comes down to it, mainstream America is not concerned about kids in the inner city. And you can just tell by what goes on in this country. And so I'm a public speaker, and quite often I speak to affluent audiences, and I'll tell them that they may not think what takes place in the inner city affects them, but they're absolutely wrong. And I tell them your tax dollars are being spent to arrest and convict and incarcerate people who could otherwise maybe be going to college and learning a skill where they could be tax-paying citizens. And furthermore, also making them aware of the fact that they don't live in a bubble. Even though they might live in Cupertino or Saratoga or wherever, they still go out to places like San Jose and other places where they can come in contact with people who are from the inner city. And so I do my best to try to show them that we're all connected, and we shouldn't have this separatism taking place in this country where if it's not taking place in your neighborhood, you don't think it's your problem. So that's what I try to do is more or less try to bring people together and realize that we're all in this together, and we really should be doing what we can do for kids regardless of where they live. And so here I am, I'm operating on a shoestring budget at this point, and yet I'm having an impact to where the Morgan Hill Community Foundation recognized my organization as me as a philanthropist and a volunteer that's making a difference in my community. And so I'm certain in the future I will receive the resources that I'm seeking to where we'll be able to have a greater impact, because I believe in what I'm doing. I know that it's needed, and my mission is to convince other people that what I'm doing is a worthy cause. But it's really unfortunate that when you look at the diversity that takes place in this country, that we don't realize that, you know, we're one country, and therefore we shouldn't have this separatism and this division mentality. So I just thought I would throw that out there.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I wanted to say something.
Set up that way. Go ahead, Cole.
Since we're speaking about community, this Saturday in Bayview, Hunters Point, Toriano Brown has this event, War Against Gun activity, because we still got young brothers in the neighborhood shooting at each other. So it'll be at 10 o'clock, Bayview Opera House. Every year, you know, it's a great event. So it's about talking and bringing exposure about guns going on in our community and brothers killing each other. So come out there, you'll see people from Stand in Peace, Uncle Damien, Us for Us. You know, you'll see John Henry, both sides of the conversation, all these great people out there, young community developers, Latino Task Force. So come out and be a part of it, because we need our young people to stay alive and free. So we want to see you 10 o'clock, Bayview Hunters Point at the Opera House this Saturday.
We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. And I got to say thank you to both of our guests, Supervisor Shamann Walton and Terrance Hunter. You're both alive and free, and that's the main thing. And doing
making a difference in the community.
And yes,
that's right.
And doing your thing and making it better. These books are I just can't say enough about books. And the reason I'm going back to when there was a time they wouldn't let us read, right? Yeah, we couldn't read. Much less write a book. And every time I see something like this, they say that, and this is a quote from I read this in Before the Mayflower. They said when the slaves were freed, they said all they want to do was read, and go to school. Read, and go to school. And I go back to the times when we couldn't do this, and you know, they forbade us to do this, and they beat us for doing this, and you know, there were laws against us doing this. So it's just marvelous to me to see you, you know, just step up, be you, to you step up and be. You're just manifesting the people you were supposed to be all along. It's supposed to be a detour, but you didn't get detoured, you know? And Terrance, it was great to meet you at the, and hear your story. Somehow I was in that story. It was great to meet you. And
he wanted to say something.
Oh, you want, no, he had his hand up from before.
I want to make one quick comment.
Yeah, because we got to get out of here. Go ahead.
It'll just be a quick comment. You made the statement about the limitations we had on us during slavery. And I just want to say this. Today, I truly believe the only limitations on us are the ones we place on ourselves. Because I'm an ex-felon and I'm not really experiencing any resistance to me. People are accepting me with open arms. And so I just want to put it out there that Don't put limitations on yourself.
Agreed. Absolutely. And Supervisor Walton, what can I say about you? I got a book that's addressed to me. Amen, amen. And this is a trip. So, you know, this is I go in my quiet time and I'll reflect. And the best thing is that we're gonna be doing this for a minute. Right. We got so much more work to do. Our legacies will continue to be. Isn't this a wonderful legacy? I mean, yes, that's what's so wonderful. When all you got is your good name. You know that? So when I say Corey's name, it gets a reaction, and it's Cole, man. Cole gonna be out there. You know, Terrance, when I was at the Rotary Club and I said your name, people said, "Oh my God!" Yeah. In fact, I had a quick talk with your wife about, don't worry about him. I always talk to the women to make sure I get. And I know his wife.
She told me to tell you hello, by the way.
Tell her I said hello. And all you got is your good name. And your name speaks for who you are. And you can't hide. You can't hide. You know, you might get by, but you won't get away, right, Lady E? That's the way it works. So thank you both for being here. We're going to get you back to talk about reparations, because that is the huge deal that you are leading the country on. Yes. You know, we're going to have a whole conversation about that, and we're going to turn it over to the one and only.
Oh, just for a few words, if that's okay.
Okay.
More than his experiences, the story is being told about a young man's journey from Juvenile Hall to City Hall. Told he was unsalvageable, an opportunity almost denied. But an angel appeared named Fillmore Graham, who refused to pass him by and took him on a trip that helped him see the possibilities, the kind of man he could be. And he did. And he's doing it now. Supervisor Shamann Walton. And then Terrance Hunter has a story to tell of a 30-year journey in San Quentin, a miraculous transformation from the inside out, beginning with a life sentence in prison. And today, he's out, making a difference for youth and fathers, both here and abroad. So Street Soldiers wants you to know and believe you can change your resume. And please, stay alive and free. This is Lady SL asking you to consider this.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And of course, we'll see you next week right here on Street Soldiers.
And thank you for having me.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right. Okay. All right.
Bye.
Good.